tenacity is one of my favorite words. Grit is another word associated with that. It sounds like you had to have a lot of grit through all of this. Is that something that is grit earned? Is it learned? Is it something that you just have to learn through from other challenges? Like how do you have the tenacity to be 8 years in business, to have people that weren't supportive throughout? And like, how does Jaynee, like, in tenacity, become what it is?
Well, I'm like probably most people that I'm not as successful as I want to be, but I'm on that trajectory. And so for people that are highly successful, I've done my research since I've been a little girl. I've always wanted to be successful, and business has always been something. I grew up in a family of very successful real estate brokers. My grandfather was actually one of the first African Americans in the state of New Jersey to get his real estate broker's license, to graduate from Baylor University. So hardship that I've experienced, like a lot of people that are successful, you'll hear their stories about all that they went through. I'm no different. I've had hardship from day one. Matter of fact, when I was born, I could not walk. I had something called hip dysplasia, and I had acute respiratory distress. So my life has never started or been easy. And so that muscle of grit and tenacity and perseverance has been very well exercised. When I get to heaven, if I make it in, I pray, I am going to ask the Lord, was all of that really necessary? But when I look back, I see that it very much was necessary, because there are some stresses and weights of responsibility in entrepreneurship, especially when you start to be successful, that you are not going to survive emotionally or physically if you don't have the ability to carry that weight. And so when I first started my entrepreneurial journey, I thought it was going to be pretty easy. You know, I'm a smart lady, and I've gone to a very good boarding school where I got full ride, and academically, I've always succeeded. So I never questioned my intellect. But that's not all it takes. Intellect takes you to a certain point, but then you've got to be able to last. You've got to be able to stand for a long, long time, even when things are not turning out quite the way that you want. So just my upbringing and what I've had to endure over the years has kind of forged that in me. So once I got to this point, it's like, well, I've been through all of that. So I think I can stand this a little bit.
Well, and it's funny when you look back, at least when I look back with my journey, one of the things that I always tell my kids is the magic happens outside of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And I live so far out of my comfort zone now that I don't even know if I have a comfort zone, to be honest. And I look back at some of the opportunities that I threw my hat in the ring to try to accomplish, and I look back and I think to myself, Tim, what were you thinking? You were so, and I can look back, and hindsight is 20/20 in this sense that I was like, I wasn't ready. So I can't get upset for not winning that particular challenge or that particular contract. I wasn't ready, and I've picked everything up and I've learned what I've needed to learn. And when you're ready, then you'll win the things that you need to win. But you just like what you're doing, you have to continue to just grind day in and day out. With that being said, what is the one thing that your biggest challenge that you need to overcome in terms of whether if it's a bad habit or that you just have to break through to take your business to the next level?
For me, it's focus. So I've held quite a few different leadership positions that I've had to let go so that I could be really focused on my business, right? As a caregiver, and from my upbringing of, just different challenges with dysfunctional family and abuse and all of that, you are kind of conditioned to want to save everybody, whether it's a family member, whether it's a business relationship. So when everybody calls you to solve their problems, you can get really caught up in all of that. And so for me, it's just being focused, putting everything else to the side and saying, I can't help you right now. I have to help myself, and not understanding that that's not being selfish, because the more successful I am and the more I learn, then the more valuable I become to those that may want my help in the future. So learning to say no and learning to stay focused. Um, Also, I was never a big athlete. That was never my thing, right? My husband, who is very much into working out and all of that. Now, tidbit, he's 25 years older than me. So when we first got married, I was young, so I didn't think I needed exercise. But he was always exercising, very built man, very muscular, defined. He would do triathlons and all that kind of stuff. And I laughed. But as I am growing older and I'm starting to catch up with him, exercise is a huge part of being disciplined. And so I even see the change in myself, in my work habits, in really every area of my life, even my ability to say no without making an excuse. It is what it is. And so fitness, good eating habits, all of those make a difference, right? So for me, as an entrepreneur right now, getting myself to perform at my peak is what I'm really concerned about at this point. That's kind of the better I can do that, then the better I'll be able to run my business, the clearer my head will be to make decisions. All of that is a part of that success factor.
What's that workout routine look like?
Well, I learned part of managing my time was I didn't have time to drive to Planet Fitness or One Life Fitness. I was going to have to figure out something in my home. So I subscribe to like Team Beachbody, and I do all the Max Insanity stuff. And my husband thinks I'm crazy, and my mother thinks I'm crazy. I'm jumping all around. They're like, he's
So that's
crazy.
like the 2020 version of Tybo, basically.
Exactly. So that's what I do. I do it in my home. I make myself do 30 minutes. And when I get to the point where I say, oh, I don't have time, I said, no, you have 30 minutes. Even if you want to eat lunch, you're going to eat lunch for at least 30 minutes. So you have 30 minutes. You can do 30 minutes lunch and 30 minutes working out. So it changes your mindset. So that's what I do. I don't have to make an excuse. Oh, I can't drive to the gym. I don't need any fancy equipment. I don't need any of that. Just work out and make sure that you do what you need to do. So, yeah.
That mind switch, that turning of the wrench, if you will.
Exactly.
How did you, because I mean, I think that's what a lot of people say, like, I don't have time. Right. And so the first thing I'd say is like, well, let's take an inventory of your life. Like,
your day.
Let's look. Oh, by the way, you were watching Netflix for 20 hours a day.
Yep.
Which, by the way, a week, hopefully not a day.
Yeah, right.
I'm not against people having lives. I just think that sometimes if you want to put something else in, you have to find a place to do that. Maybe wake up a little bit earlier, right? Like, I know that this past weekend I went and did a 3.5 hour bike ride and a 30-minute run followed right after it, which meant I had to start at 6 a.m. I didn't want to ride my bike at 6 a.m. But it's what I wanted to do to get there. So, like, what wrench did you have to buy to like turn your head to make that happen? Because I think so many people will sit there and say, the reason I can't do this is because of this, because I don't have the time to do that, or find excuse, the excuse machine. So how did you not become the excuse machine and actually figured out how to actually find the time to do something?
Well, when I get complacent and I feel like, oh, I don't really want to do this, it's the self-talk, right? It's my favorite kind of quote to myself is you can make progress or you can make excuses. So Jaynee, which one are you going to choose today? So I put that in front of myself. And really, I'm very much into personal development. I'm even a coach myself. I coach a lot of people. My latest, I don't even call them clients. I like to say my mentees because I do a lot of work with a lot of younger women. One girl, she didn't even want to leave her area. She didn't have any self-confidence in going out and looking for bigger opportunities. This young lady has totally amazed me. She has gone out and moved to a totally different state, landed this 6-figure job, and I'm just so excited. So personal development has been something that I started years ago, really decades ago, I should be honest, because of my upbringing and all that I have gone through, there was a lot of self-sabotaging. There were a lot of unfruitful thoughts and behaviors. So I've been working on myself for a very long time. And by doing that, I enjoy watching and reading about people's lives and how they overcome. So just learning from other people that are successful was how I understood what the tools were going to be to help me to turn that switch.
Is that how you've become so positive? I mean, one of the things that on social media, for those that are connected with you, you're always very, very positive. So is that a result of part of the process that you've gone through?
Yeah, because people are always linking to me to get a dose of positivity. I am an inspirational speaker. I've written several inspirational books and things. So that's part of my calling, and that's what people look to me for. So yes, social media is just another platform that I use to do that.
And so with that, and a lot of people look to you for that positivity, what happens when you have a bad day, or what happens when you're not as happy as what everybody else wants you to be? Where do you turn to get past that negativity and to be the positive person that you are?
Oh, I go to all my favorite influencers. I like Ed Milet. I like David Goggins. I even like a little Tony Robbins. I will go and seek out those influencers that are where I want to be, have already overcome the challenges that I'm facing, and that gives me a boost. So just surrounding myself and feeding myself positive energy, positive information, and people laugh when I've had people ask me a question like, every time we see you, you're always so happy. And I said, well, how often do you see me? So let that tell you something. When you've only seen me probably maybe 4 or 5 times this year, then that means I probably had, 95 other days that you didn't see me that I wasn't having a good day. So self-management, because I don't always have a good day. And so I don't like to unleash that on other people. That's not their problem. So I will stay to myself and do some self-talk, take some time out, get myself together. And then, as I say, when I can behave myself, I come back out to the world and be nice.
Interesting. Good to hear that you found David Goggins. He's
he's awesome.
He's an interesting fella. A very interesting fella. I mean, I feel like I'm the one who introduces him to a lot of people. I know I'm the person who introduced him to Tim and dozens of other people. The dude just like doesn't allow his mind to get in the way.
Yep.
So my favorite quote, and I'm going to ask you what yours is too, so you can be thinking about this, but my favorite quote of his is something along the lines of, when you think you've hit that wall, you're only at 40%. So to think that you're not even at halfway and that you still have so much more to give, it is so interesting. And so I kind of felt that this morning. I went on a swim. I was trying to go for a very, very fast time, fast for me time. And I was probably 40% into it, 30% into it. I'm like, man, I don't know. Now I didn't actually end up getting the time. So I guess I was right in that, but I pushed through and still had one of my personal best recently. So that's interesting, that you can like shift your mind into something and be like, no, like you're fine. Keep going through. It's like 17 seconds. Like you'll be okay. So what's your favorite kind of Goggins moment, if you will?
I watched him on actually Ed Milet's YouTube podcast, and he was just talking about how when he was, killing bugs and how he just woke
like so
up
long ago, right?
Yeah, and he woke up and it's like, I'm a fat slob. I'm eating donuts and downing milkshakes and all of this crazy stuff, and how he just kept going back and just going back and going back. And I can kind of see how I have done that. I just keep going back. It's like, okay, I got denied. I got rejected. I just keep going back. There's just something that makes you crazy enough to believe that you can just go back. Like there's nothing to stop you. So I'm just impressed with his mental fortitude, and that kind of definitely encourages me to keep it up. So sooner or later, you just keep chopping at it. It's gonna break.
Have you read his book?
No, I haven't. I have not done that yet.
The recommendation, I think, by Tim and myself would be listen to the book, because it's one of the most uniquely done books ever, where it's the written form, and then after every chapter, it's voiced by someone other than him, which I don't normally like, but in this case, I think it works. So it's him, some other guy voicing it, and then at the end of it, it's like a mini podcast of the guy who just voiced it and David, who had just been listening to it, the guy in the studio, kind of going bantering back and forth, like, okay, now that it's been a couple months after you wrote this, like, tell me more, give me more in depth of this. It's very unique, and I don't know, when I write book 2, I think that'll probably be something that I steal.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah, I have to check it out.
Yeah.
Zach, when do you run your race, or when is your triathlon?
So September 19th is the date. So
we have to come up with, maybe we'll commit to it on this show, but we have to come up with a date for the 4x4 by 48.
Yes. So Jaynee, he has this thing. I know you're back into fitness and that you love it.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe your husband will want to do this too with you. So he has this, I guess they call it the Goggins challenge.
Oh.
Yes. And so it's pretty brutal. So he's basically like, I do this once a year just to make sure I'm still a badass or something. Probably more colorful language than that, because that guy.
His language is very colorful.
And very quickly too, right? He does these 60-minute bursts and he like drops 19 F-bombs, but like there's so much he does it. It's like, yeah, you got to go hard. Yeah. So. And by the way, I've never seen that guy in a T-shirt. I don't think he owns a T-shirt.
No, right?
Graham Short. Actually, another book to read is Jesse Itzler's book about how he lived with. He hired David Goggins to help him train for 60 days or for 30 days. And,
probably brutal. I don't know if I could last.
Goggins apparently wore the same clothes every single day for that 30 days.
He showed up with a gym bag, I believe.
Yeah, just showed up with like a bag.
Wow.
Yeah, he's like, how like the same thing. It's just wow. Yes. So the challenge is 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
Wow.
And he says something like, you really figure out who you are in those, in those 48 hours, and it's 12 runs, I think, and it ends up being 48 total miles, which is a lot in 2 days. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's the next immediate thing that I'll do, just to see what that's like. I don't even know that I've never done a double run day. So to then do a double run times 6.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's the middle of the night runs and the sleep deprivation, I think, is going to be my biggest challenge.
But I think what's interesting about that is the tenacity, the grit. It's like there's a Kevin Hart quote in his latest book that I can't recall what it is, but again, it's something like, what did you go to bed wanting to do? Don't let the bed get the bed with you. Get out of the bed, right? So I've been trying to find that quote. So if anyone knows where to find it, please give it to me, because I thought it was just very powerful. It's like, hey, this is what you want to do. Get the heck out of bed, you idiot.
But yep.
You want to win or not. And so yeah, if you want to do the Goggins challenge with us, let us know. Like, that'll be
I'll consider it. I don't know if I could even hang that long, but I'll think about it.
As a slow runner, the challenge is that I got to be out there even longer. Someone like Tim is going to be out there for like 22 minutes every.
No, but you can walk, you can run, you can bike.
You're going to run it. Come on, man.
No, I was, for anyone listening.
Right.
It doesn't have to be just.
I mean, if you were to do 4 miles biking.
That's my husband probably could do that. He does that. He does that all the time, and I fuss at him like, "You're going too far. What if you get sick?" He's like, "No, I'll be fine."
I don't want to go that far out either for whatever reason.
Right.
Whatever reason that might be.
So.